the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Now the beauty of India is that this can be said by anyone, anywhere. You know, it's of universal significance. That is the beauty of India. Look at our national anthem, Jana Gana Mana. Compare it with the French, the Marseillaise, where they say, oh, their blood will fertilize our soil, about the enemies. Or German, Deutschland, Deutschland über alles. Whereas Jana Gana Mana is different, you know. That is India. And India has to be true to India. And Director, you have overwhelmingly honored me. And I got a book for you, for the library. Gandhi, the Soul Force Warrior, revolutionized revolution and spiritualized it. This is by my colleague, Ambassador Pascal Allen Nazareth. So on his behalf, I'm going to present it to you.
Before I declare the floor open for questions, the chairman of PCGT Pune, Mr. S.C. Nagpal, would like to give the concluding remarks. Sir?
I had mentioned to all of you that getting Mr. Fabian to speak today is adding a dimension to our breadth and depth of thought on governance. The way he has given you examples of troubles and problems arising in various countries and how they were solved, and how so many agencies combine to give effect to what the governments want them to do, and how that evacuation of all time, the highest, biggest evacuation of all times, was accomplished by Mr. Fabian of 1,76,000. These are not small issues. They are big things, but the breadth of thought on governance that is given to you all today is something that we will remember forever. And I must give our full compliments to Mr. Fabian for having brought this to our notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nagpal, and thank you, sir, for that very informative address and for sharing your experiences with us. I'm sure students have gained a lot and learned a lot. Now that brings us a step closer to the end of today's proceedings, and thus I'd like to call upon Lieutenant General Ashok Kapoor, sir, member, PCGT Pune, to preside over the question and answer session. I now open the floor to the audience, sir.
After such an interesting talk, I'm sure you have a lot of questions and a lot of things to ask. I recall many years ago, I had gone to Sims to attend a talk by an industrialist. He took 40 minutes to finish his talk, and it was a very interesting talk. But the question answer session was beyond the talk. I called it beyond the talk because some of the pointers that he had given, he could not cover in his 40 minutes talk, and the student took it beyond that. So let's have some very interesting questions. 4 of the questions which I have got earlier, I've already given it to our eminent speaker. Request you, sir, to
Thank you. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Lieutenant General Ashok Kapoor. I have 4 questions here. I shall read them out first. Do you think that the number of diplomats in IFS are enough today, given that a country like Singapore, a fraction of the size of India, has many more diplomats? Aditya Naik. Now, Aditya, that's a very important question, and I agree with you that we need more diplomats than we have. At the same time, I would not like to have a formula which links the population with the number of diplomats, because that, I'm afraid, does not make much sense. Because don't forget that Singapore has to have embassies wherever it likes, trade reasons, other reasons. And one embassy has to have at least an ambassador, his or her peers, and one more official. So, a certain number is sort of fixed, you know what I mean? And then the variation. So one can't have a simplified formula. Population by X should be the number of diplomats. But we need more. You're absolutely right. Second, this is from Nipun Nafde. Members of various public services form the foundation of Indian governance, yet their contribution is seldom analyzed. Do their systems require changes in the current era? Is there a way to get them more involved in decision making? Now, coming to the last sentence. The civil service should give advice to the political leadership. In the United Kingdom, when there is an election, the civil service goes through the manifestos of the principal parties and makes out a note. Okay, these are the promises you have made. This is what is going to cost financially, and these are the pros and cons. In the sense that, if you favor A, well, then B might ask for something else. So these are the pros and cons. Now, they do it for at least the 2 major parties, if not for the third party also. And whichever party comes to power, they hand it over. Now, in our case, it doesn't happen. And that's a pity. And we also don't have a road map. United States and now China also, they say what their defense doctrine is. America comes out with it from time to time. China has started coming out with it. You see? But we don't have it. I'm not saying that we should spell out everything, but there are many things which we can say, just for clarity of thinking. We don't do that. And it's important for the civil service to give such advice, whether asked or not asked. After all, when the new government comes, you can say that, look, foreign policy wise, these are our recommendations. We are here. We want to be there in the next 5 years. Now, this is how we can move. Now, these are the pros and cons. If we go this way, there will be resistance to that extent. If you move this way, there will be resistance from another direction. You see? Let me give you a concrete example. When Trump got elected as president, we should have then had a plan how to deal with his sanctions against Iran. Because as candidate, he had said it umpteen times that is the most disastrous agreement, he will walk out of it. So, in the External Affairs Ministry, we have a policy planning division. That division should have got in touch with Ministry of Petroleum, Commerce, Finance, and maybe others, civil aviation and surface transport and all that, and worked out a plan. You see, but we didn't do that. And to my mind, of course, now I am speculating, the plan should have been, we should tell the United States, listen, we need badly the oil from Iran because some of our refineries are sort of used to it. And in any case, there's a big financial advantage in getting it from them. So we are going to buy it. But if you want us to go through the charade of waiver, you are giving us a waiver and we are taking it, we are prepared. But we are not asking for it. If you want, we can have it. And Chabahar, it's important for us, not only in our relations with Iran, but also for Central Asia, even for Afghanistan. So, these are our national interests, so we are going to go ahead, but you are our friend. So we don't want to be seen as sort of, not taking into account your sentiments. So let's work out something. So you sort of tell us. No, we didn't do that. Even about S-400, the Russian system, we should tell them clearly, look, we are going to go ahead with it. Don't sort of let it not be a Damocles sword hanging over our head. We are going to go ahead with it. If you want the charade of waiver, so be it. In fact, the sanctions, we have to liberate our mind from this sanctions approach. After all, why should one country tell two other countries, hey, you can't trade with each other? This is not the international law. So, a little bit of creative thinking is necessary. And don't forget, India has a clout. We are a big buyer of weapons from the United States, and President Trump is the most dedicated salesman of the military-industrial complex. He will get the message, but again, we have to put it diplomatically to him, not to offend him or anything. He'll be very foolish to offend him. So we'll have to put it to others, and so there are ways of doing things. Next is judicial education from Ayushi Goyal. Judicial education, how judicial education could be imparted to achieve the path of justice. Well, I used to ask the candidates invited by the UPSC, some of them who had done LLM and all that, I used to ask them a thought experiment. Suppose your best friend knocks at your doors at 3 o'clock in the morning and says that he had committed a murder. And he wants the best advice, what to do. And he wants you to sort of, take care of the instrument, the knife or whatever it was. He doesn't know where to hide it, and he wants an alibi. What will you do? Well, 8 out of 10 told me, I will help him because everyone is entitled to defense. So I said, but how can you? You know that he is a murderer. And I said, well, you are also supposed to assist the court in finding out the truth. But 2 out of 10 told me, no, I won't have anything to do with it. I will tell him very firmly, sorry, I can't help you. I will not, give any witness against him. That's a different matter. But I will not happen. So I think, this divorce between morality, between ethics and politics, between ethics and practice of law, that divorce has to be ended. Human beings are ethical beings. If we deny that, well, we shall have the state of nature of Thomas Hobbes, where life is nasty, brutish, and short. And the last one I have is, since you do not corroborate the use of EVMs, what other alternative would you suggest, keeping in mind the shortcomings that may be without it in the same way? This is from Karmanya Pandey. It's like this. I agree that, in fact, we had discussions with the Chief Election Commissioner, and he had told us, that if you have the old system where there can be ballot board stuffing and all that. So we said, well, it did happen, but now, with CCTV and all that, it did not necessarily happen. We can have arrangements. And meanwhile, we said, let us have a higher percentage of VVPAT, sort of cross-checking. No, they didn't agree. I think we have to think seriously about it. And you see, technology is important. What is important is using the technology appropriately. Technology per se is neither good nor bad. I mean, it's like the Einstein's theory of E is equal to mc square. You can use it to understand the world. You can also use it to make an atom bomb. From this much of M, you get this much of energy. Now the next lot is from Natasha Martin. Is India and the world moving towards fascism? Trump, Brexit, etc. are they indicators? Well, I wouldn't say that India and the rest of the world are moving towards fascism, but I would say that there is a disquieting number of strong men emerging globally. You can find it in Erdogan, Putin, Trump, of course, and now this Brexit. I tell you, it is absolute madness. There is no other word for it. It's a tale told by an idiot, signifying nothing, full of sound and fury. Because a British government study has shown there will be shortages of food, medicines, and fuel. And Boris Johnson, he is being very tough. He told the EU, you withdraw that backup clause, otherwise we are going to sort of no deal exit. That will be disastrous. I doubt whether he will do it. He will probably go for an election, and he hopes that he can gather votes, but I doubt it. I think, in fact, the original referendum, Cameroon's, that was badly worded. It should have said, do you want to remain in the EU? If not, do you want us to negotiate an agreement of separation and see it again before you finally approve it? The choice is not between remaining in or exiting. If it is exiting, then you have to look at it carefully, This sort of divorce, just the spouse walking out, no, that's no good. And that shows even people as intelligent as the British. No, in fact, what happens often? The combined intelligence of a committee, not always, but often, is not the sum of the intelligence of the members. It is not P plus Q plus R plus S plus T. No, quite often, the combined value Z is given by the equation 1 pi Z is equal to 1 by P plus 1 by Q plus this thing. And I can assure you, then Z will be smaller than all other numbers. Now, this is what measures can be taken to reduce hate speech or false speech by our ministers. I think we as voters should tell them, look, we don't approve of it, and nowadays, now that we have the email, it is up to us to tell them. They will understand that. You should say, Honorable Minister, here is the speech which you made, quotation, we disapprove of that, we didn't expect it from you. And if it is from those who voted for him, he will certainly look at it carefully. There was no name there. Next is Ganchan Perimal. What are your views on the liberal bias of media, and if there is a bias, how does the media's portrayal of government's actions and practices, policies affect the way the citizens perceive those actions, or does it cloud their judgment of those policies? Well, you see, the media again is a fourth estate. I mean, in France we had the three estates. Media is a fourth estate. Now, what is the job of the media? Media should be the watchdog in a democracy. But now what has happened, with a few exceptions, media has become industry. Industry means you have to make money. To make money, you need advertisement from the government. You also have to make sure that you as owner or as editor are not, in the bad books of the government, because there can always be an income tax case against you, whether it is valid or not. You see? So this is bad, and the media have to stand up. But let me also tell you, even about what's happening in Kashmir. I heard the Doordarshan this morning said that it's all peaceful. But I also saw the New York Times and the Washington Post. They had videos. France 24, they have video. But I mean is that, news, just as murder will be out, truth will be out. You see? But it can affect the citizens' perception. You're absolutely right. Next is Prakash at ThinkPace. Prakash. That's the email ID, sorry. The first past the post criterion election system often resulting disproportional representation. Disproportionate. How about India adopting proportional representation, as in Germany? 2 vote, 1 for party and 1 for candidate. 2, electoral bonds are out of purview of RTI. What is the transparency in governance? On electoral bonds, I already mentioned, it is a deplorable instance of lack of transparency, and it should go. In fact, why do we have to spend so much money on elections? I've seen this rent-a-crowd business. Once I was catching a flight in Bangalore, and my friends told me, oh, those people, there were about 400 of them with a flag. Oh, they get 400 rupees, and tomorrow they will go for the other party. Collect another 400. So all that has to stop, and like as they do in the United States, we should have debates on television or otherwise, where candidates speak out, and that is very important. Now, proportional representation. I think we have to seriously think about it, because first past the system, that has its dangers. And many countries in Europe have proportional system, and we should have a debate, and we should move in that direction. But again, this is, change of constitution, and we have to give it good, deep, broad thinking, and we have to work out a consensus and move on. Should not be done in a hurry, but we should do that. I think that's the last one that I have.
Thank you, sir. With that, we come to the end of the question and answer session. One last agenda is that I'd like to call upon Dr. Bindu Ronald ma'am, Deputy Director, Symbiosis Law School, Pune, to present us with a vote of thanks. Ma'am.
Symbiosis Law School Pune has been organizing the B.G. Deshmukh Public Memorial Lecture for a couple of years now. And through this lecture, we've been trying to take teaching beyond the classroom, as Dr. Gurpur stated initially. As we come to the end of this B.G. Deshmukh Memorial Lecture for this year, I take this opportunity to thank many who have been the reason why we are here, and for all of them who have made this public lecture a success today. I begin with our chief guest for the day, Ambassador K.P. Fabian, for delivering the 8th B.G. Deshmukh Memorial Lecture on the theme State of Governance in India. So after hearing you, we are really in awe at your experience and your knowledge. And we thank you for being here with us, accepting the invitation which was extended by Nagpal sir to you. But thank you for being here with us and addressing all the members of the audience present here. I also take this opportunity to place on record the support that we receive from our top management, our Chancellor, Dr. S.B. Majumdar, our Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Vidya Yeravdekar, and Vice Chancellor Dr. Rajni Gupte in all the events that we organize at this institution. In fact, in all our previous B.G. Deshmukh Memorial Lectures, we've had Majumdar sir here, and who's always made it a point to be here, but unfortunately because he wasn't, he isn't here in Pune, he couldn't be present for today's lecture. I take this opportunity to thank Nagpal sir, Chairman PCGT, for the presidential address and also for giving the concluding remarks. So thank you very much for bringing to us such a wonderful speaker here. And it's only because of you and your team that is there that Symbiosis Law School and our sister institution students are able to benefit from the experience of so many different people. I thank Mr. A.V. Krishnan, member PCGT, for introducing the PCGT to all the members and all that PCGT does. I also thank Mr. Ajit Nimbalkar, member PCGT, for introducing late Shri B.G. Deshmukh, in whose memory we organized this lecture. And it was really wonderful to see so many facets of Sir. Lieutenant General Ashok Kapoor, sir, thank you very much for moderating the question and answer session. We're really happy that you are here amongst us and you could take the